This strand will include identifying what recovery capital currently exists among individuals and groups in developing this, so that it provides the resources and capabilities which are truly needed to sustain long-term recovery. We also need to understand what capacity exists within specific communities to deliver what is needed in relation to helping problematic users sustain their recovery. These communities include prisoners. One of our key partners on this strand is the prison in Peterborough, black and minority ethnic groups, as well as those of a geographic nature. It's also about identifying where new interventions are needed to develop the capacity of these communities so they are better placed to provide the necessary support to those on the recovery journey. We want Peterborough to be seen as being at the forefront of innovative drug and alcohol services, and by doing so, putting the user at the heart of the development of these services. We want to move from recovery capital being something which is a concept to something which can be defined and measured. We want to develop the foundations of recovery community in which stories of hope and recovery are commonplace and sustained recovery is support. We will identify recovery champions within communities, and that's already started to happen. We've already got a handful of people who wish to become recovery champions, and form a recovery champions network, which ideally will be led by people in recovery. And from this base, develop a strong and sustainable recovery community network within specific communities. We wish to do that because what we do know is that quite often those who are in recovery, the only community they have is the drug community. Their drug dealer, people who they use with, and things of that nature. So by establishing a separate type of community, a supportive community, which can help them sustain their recovery, is the way forward. I want to promote a shared understanding of recovery and recovery capital, so everyone in every organisation and community knows what it is, what it looks like, and how it can be achieved. Making social media socially. How can we out-tweet Twitter, and how can we out-Facebook or whatever the next thing could be? Basically, this is about developing an online platform and social media for local people. How social media can be used to improve involvement in communities across the city and connect people and organisations who really want to make Peterborough a more vibrant place to live. The long-term aim is to develop a sustainable network of community websites which are owned and developed by local people who have a passion for positive change and wish to connect with people who are in the same mind. It's also about helping those who are looking for things to do in the city connect with people who, putting them in touch with the right people to help them do whatever it is they want to do. We do have some community websites in Peterborough. Some are dormant, and some are at best not exactly user-friendly. So the idea here is to try and pull some of the experience that we've already got, build on it, and look at new ways of which we can build social media which will add value to local people. The Citizens Power website, www.citizenspower.co.uk, is part of this strand. If you haven't already been, I'd encourage you to have a look at it. The one caveat I would say is that it's not fit for purpose, and this strand will look to revamp that website. It's a place for people to find out what's going on, not just with Citizen Power, but across the city. And there's also blogs on there. It's a source of discussion and information exchange, which is informing each of the strands and helping the programme make connections within the city as well. Civic health. I remember doing a presentation on this at the scrutiny committee a couple of months ago, and one of the councillors on the committee said, "Oh, so you're going to help me live 10 years longer then, Graeme?" I said, "I'm sorry, that's not what this is about." But I can understand why. that confusion arises. Peterborough's got average levels of participation, but in the context of around 28% cuts in public spending, community engagement will no doubt need to increase. As I said earlier, we can't take it for granted that everyone has the capability to get involved in their communities. Civic Health is exploring and developing a new evaluation tool to help determine the capability people have to participate in their communities. This will help direct scarce funding to the groups which are most in need and the services which are best placed at building the capacity of those groups. A tool which can be used by local authorities and communities alike to measure their own abilities and build connections within the community to help them learn more about themselves and work towards improving their behaviour to achieve positive change. The aim here is to carry out an initial trial in conjunction with the Peterborough Council for Voluntary Service. And just picking up on something that Richard was saying earlier, part of my early dialogue with the voluntary community sector in the city was one where they came along with a stick and beat me over the head quite often about this programme. And I think a lot of the cynicism we heard from Richard I've been hearing from the voluntary community sector in Peterborough. But after to and fro and emails and phone calls and meetings, I'm absolutely delighted that the voluntary community sector have said, okay, fine, we've had a whinge, we've had a moan, the time has come to move on. And they are, okay, they don't want the citizen power bus to go too quickly just yet, in case they might want to get off again. But it's fair to say that they're now looking at this in a positive light. They want to work with us and access to their 540, 550 members to see how we can make this work in the city. And I'm absolutely delighted that the Council for Voluntary Service in the city is on board with this. So just to conclude, I think this programme is all of those things on that slide. It's 2 years, it's very ambitious. It's an initial 2 years, it is very ambitious. We're not saying that this programme is going to change life in Peterborough as we know it, but it's about creating conditions for change. There's lots of behaviour change that we're looking to achieve in the city. That won't happen overnight. It's going to take a concerted effort. What I hope I've done today is demonstrate that what we're trying to do with this is create a frame, a picture frame, if you like, which to work with the citizens of Peterborough. Because if you were to take this from a sort of pure project management approach, if I can use an example of building a football stadium, you know, you want it to have 25,000 seats, it needs to have a pitch, it needs to have corporate hospitality. You know what that project looks like. We're not quite sure with this, actually, because until we engage with those people who use the drug services, for example, in the communities, then we don't know what that picture within that picture frame looks like. And that's why we call it Citizens' Power. Thank you very much for listening.
Any questions from the floor for Graeme? We've got one at the back, so let's bring the microphone around.
I just wanted to, fairly early on in the presentation, I think you raised the expectation about talking about independence. I wondered if you could expand on that and sort of what you hope is the outcome or the objective around that.
I think the outcome, I mean, as I said in my finishing couple of sentences, I think the outcome is to be decided by the people of Peterborough. So what needs to happen from their perspective to help them live more independent lives? So I think for the programme to say this is what needs to happen, I think is the wrong way around. It's for the people of Peterborough to say, actually, this is what we need. And actually, potentially, that's going to be different within different communities. Although we're not going to come out with 1,500 different models necessarily, of course not. But you know, it needs to be driven from the bottom up rather than the top down.
Any other questions for Graeme? Just one challenge from Twitter, if I can put this to you, is citizen empowerment. What you talked about, citizen empowerment is fantastic and innovative, but is it big society?
I'll let others decide.
Oh, is that cop out?
I don't know. We believe it is. We believe it is because it's about a bottom-up approach. It's about people telling us what they need for a Peterborough and the Peterborough that they want and need and aspire to in the 21st century. It's that big society.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Graeme. Cheers. Okay, so we're going to move on, and I've got to thank you, Graeme, because we are spot on time. I don't think we could have got any better with that, with the timing. So we're heading in the right direction for this afternoon. I'm just going to introduce our final speaker now, Jessica Crowe from the Centre for Public Scrutiny. Our interest caught with Jessica very much from an article that we saw in the MJ around being big but accountable in